Oh no, this was remember when Nell had lost his?
Yeah.
And this one was sitting up here, so I was assuming that was Nell, but he brought it, he said he found it and brought this one to me. So
I can have it. My Exodus 20 is gone. Let me get one of those. Right.
So line to Terry, but just talking about order.
I had 2 of them. I only need to buy one.
And we can see.
Is
Is anybody else interested in ordering one of these or getting one of these?
we can order, we do a
Maybe if it, yeah, I said because it has something about a bulk on there. Maybe if it's enough people, you know, we could try to get. It said 10 or more or whatever. Maybe try to get 10 or more of them. You ever checked it out before?
I saw it before I heard about it. I just never read it.
Okay, you're pretty good. I know Sister Terry was just talking to me about it. Brother Eric was just asking how do he get one, and then you know you interested in get a few more people that's interested. Maybe we can try to get about 10 of them. That would be cool.
I'm for the 3.
You on the 3? Okay, 3, 4, 5. You need 5 more. But I was telling her that if y'all decide to go in there and order it yourself, like if you just go in there and try to order it without donating, most likely you won't get one. But if you donate like $20, most likely you go guaranteed to get one. If you don't donate 10, sometimes you won't get one either.
I ain't getting one at all.
They say donation, but they
They really want you to pay $20.
Yeah, they want $20. Yeah, that's for the paperback.
It's a lot of words,
if you get the scriptures, it's a translation called the scriptures that they have on Amazon. You can buy it straight from Amazon. It's pretty much the exact same book. I'm not really sure what the differences are, but like when I use my eSword, the eSword and the Hallelujah scriptures, my scriptures module on the eSword and the Hallelujah scriptures is almost exactly the same. I haven't seen any. Yes. Say again? Yeah, everything. Because from what I understand, the people who made the Hallelujah scriptures and the people who had the script at one point in time, they was all together, and they wound up breaking rank. From what I understand, but all good book. Y'all ready? We'll go ahead and bring it. Start 3:15. Might be like you start the time.
Sometimes.
15 minutes late. We wait for these. We wait for them to come in and then we go ahead and bring it up and there or something. About Shalom. See, we all stood up when you walked in.
All minds clear? This is Deuteronomy chapter 6 at verse 4. Hear, O Yisrael, Yahuwah our Elohim, Yahuwah is one. Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael.
Yahuwah Eloheinu.
Yahuwah Eloheinu.
Yahuwah Echad.
Yahuwah Echad.
Shemot, or Exodus chapter 20 at verse 3. We will have no other mighty ones.
We will have no other mighty ones.
Against the Most High.
Against the Most High.
We will not make any carved image.
We will not make any carved image.
Or any likeness.
Or any likeness.
Of that which is in Shamayim above.
Of that which is in Shamayim above.
Or which is in the earth beneath.
Or which is in the earth beneath.
Or which is in the waters under the earth.
Or which is in the waters under the earth.
We will not bow down to them.
We will not bow down to them.
Nor serve them.
Nor serve them.
Yahuwah our El.
Yahuwah our El.
Is a jealous El.
Is a jealous El.
Visiting the wicked.
Visiting the wicked.
Of the fathers on the children.
Of the fathers on the children.
To the third and fourth generation.
To the third and fourth generation.
Of those that hate it.
Of those that hate it.
But showing kindness.
Showing kindness.
To thousands of those.
To thousands of those.
Who love him.
Love him.
And keep his commandments.
And keep his commandments.
We will not bring the name Yahuwah in vain. For Yahuwah will not leave us unpunished. Who brings the name in vain. We will remember the Shabbat day. Keep it Kodesh. 6 days we will labor. And do all our work. But the seventh day is the Shabbat. Yahuwah. For in 6 days Yahuwah made Shamayim and the earth and the sea and all that is in them. And rested the seventh day. Therefore Yahuwah barak the Shabbat day. We will respect our fathers and our mothers, so that our days are long upon the earth. We will not murder. We will not commit adultery. We will not steal. We will not bear false witness against our neighbor. We will not covet anything that is our neighbor.
Father, Yah, we come before you, Father, humbly, Father, one and fourth, Father, standing together, asking that you would incline your ear to our prayer and accept our petition, Father, asking, Father, that you would open up the hearts and minds of your people, Father, and receive your word, Father. Allow your Ruach, Father, to rest with us, Father, on this Shabbat, Father. We give thanks for the Shabbat, Father, that you gave to us to be a mark between you and your people, Father. We thank you right now. We ask that any person that is still in transit, Father, you allow them to make it here safely. We give thanks for all the souls that are gathered here today, Father, to receive your word, Father. We pray that you meet us here, Father, that you would impart wisdom and understanding upon each and every one of us, Father. Allow us to be hearers, not only hearers, but doers of your word, Father. Give utterance unto the speaker and understanding unto the hearer, Father. And all these things we pray and we give thanks. So be it.
So be it. Hallelujah.
George, point stand in the field and just threw him on the stage.
You gonna say you will get your house.
Got
your house wet.
Like back. I ain't never had that kind of hop.
So your ass sit down.
Gotta be spotted, man, to get new one.
Or DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah.
He be all right. I told him I'll be healed up in a minute.
He said, oh, he was hurt?
He said that 2-4 and over there. Hey, look, that boy came and was like, yeah, I knew when she was injured. I knew I wasn't gonna lose.
Oh, he didn't say you was injured.
Nah. He asked me before we even went over there.
To his credit, though, you did call him out.
I was just joking at first.
Yeah,
you did. I was joking at first. Look, after that first play, when I felt that boy, I'm like, ooh. We over there shooting. I wasn't feeling that because I was guarding. I was like heavier than it. It was over after that. So, everybody's like, I ain't playing you again until I'm 40.
Who said that?
So then when you beat me, you say you beat the old man.
The year before, you did the next another month. The year before, you did.
Oh, he's true.
All right, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. For those of us that's here, everybody else that can join us when they get here. Okay, so I got a little lesson for today. It's it might be a little longer than normal just because it's a little more reading involved. It's like one chapter in particular that I wanted to pull out to read just for understanding purpose. First off, I'm not sure. You look familiar. You been here before? Or you fellowship with us before? Okay.
No, I met you guys at the festival.
Okay. Yeah. Y'all, okay. That's why you look familiar. Y'all mind introducing yourself? You know.
My name is Johnny. My fiance is.
Okay.
Martinez, my son Caleb.
Okay.
Been having a lot of questions about where things weren't making sense to me, and someone introduced me to the way you guys teach.
Okay.
And I've just been all in.
Okay.
The last few weeks, I've just been things have been really being clarified for me.
Wonderful.
And grew up in a Christian church, And like I said, things just weren't making sense.
Right.
And I actually grew up as a Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
So I had some knowledge of the Bible, and the only thing that's really bringing clarity is this. So I wanted to check you guys out, see what you all heard about.
Okay, cool, man. Well, it's a definitely a blessing to have you here, man. Praise the Father that y'all was able to make it out, your whole family. Any question that you have, it'll be addressed. I just ask that you hold it to after the particular lesson. We do everything based on the scriptures. So everything that you hear is going to come directly from the book. If anything that you hear from me is going to be just expounding on what's here, and I'm going to use the scriptures to back it up.
That's exactly what I appreciate the most.
Wonderful. And so, like I said, man, we're glad to have y'all out. Y'all welcome to come and fellowship with us anytime. So you met us down at the festival at the
I spoke with Brother.
Okay. So you had spoke with him before you came down there, or?
No, I just met him there.
Okay, cool.
So you guys.
Cool. So you've been checking out the lessons since then?
Well, yeah, I've been looking up some of the teachings of Brother Hiroshima.
Okay, I'm not familiar.
And it's another one. I've been looking at videos on YouTube.
You know no?
That's the video I was telling you that I saw.
Hiroshima?
Yeah.
He from here?
Okay.
No, he's just online.
Okay.
That's how I got it.
Okay. And then, so who invited you?
Oh my goodness. Caleb and Caleb.
Yeah. Brother come with what?
Right.
Right.
Okay.
I forget her name.
Yeah, they usually sit right there.
Yeah, right in here.
Okay.
Caleb and I forget her name. She wanted like.
Oh, Beth? Okay, yeah.
Oh, not
yeah.
that.
Okay. All right, so what we gonna so you familiar with the teachings? Are you familiar with the teachings as well, since you've been checking them out with them?
Yeah, I've been checking them out. I pretty much do
Okay.
but similarly to him, a lot of things they mentioned.
Right.
And he initially, looked at the videos, and I started watching them for a while.
Okay. Beautiful. So this gonna get couple morsels today, hopefully, off this word. So the lesson I got prepared is actually called Tree Bearing Fruit. So we're gonna start off, and this I gotta give my high credit. It started off based on a conversation I was having with Brother Tremaine at the park on Sunday, and we was discussing. Well, he was just bringing out some stuff that he had been studying, and he brought up the fig tree. Y'all familiar with the fig tree and how the Mashiach cursed the fig tree or whatever? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a nice little lesson right there. So it came stemming from the conversations I had with him. So that's what this whole lesson is based upon. So let's start there in Matthew 21 and verse 18. I'm gonna try to get through this quick so we can get through it. Because we're gonna put Trav to work today. We're gonna do some reading. And also, like I said, if y'all have any questions about anything in particular that I touch on, if it's something real quick, just but if it's an extensive question, just kind of write it down and hold it to the end, and we'll address it. So Matthew chapter 21 and verse 18.
Matthew, Yahoo, chapter 21 and verse 18. Now in the morning, as he returned into the city, he hungered. And when he saw a fig tree in the way, he came to it and found nothing thereon, but leaves only, and said unto it, let no fruit grow on you henceforth forever. And presently the fig tree withered away.
Keep going.
And when the disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, how soon is the fig tree withered away? Mashiach answered and said unto them, Truly I say unto you, if you have faith and doubt not, you shall not only do this which is done to the fig tree, but also if you shall say unto this mountain, be you removed, and be you cast into the sea, and it shall be done.
Okay, that's good. So, what principles do y'all see? Do y'all recognize here within that little passage in the gospel? What principle stick out to y'all? I know it's going to be interactive. So,
Faith without works.
Faith, but it's another underlying principle. Faith is the evident one, right, but it's another underlying principle that's right up in there that you might have missed. Let's start back at verse 19.
And when he saw a fig tree in the way, he came to it.
So it was a fig tree that was there. Now we understand that trees only produce fruit in season, right? So we understand it had to be seasoned if he approached this tree and anticipating that there was going to be fruit on it, right? Go ahead.
And found nothing thereon, but leaves only, and said unto it, let no fruit grow on you henceforth forever. And presently the fig tree withered away.
Okay, that's the principle is right up in there, right? So what wasn't on the tree? There was no fruit on the tree. So the tree was not producing fruit, right? And because the tree was not producing fruit, what did Mashiach do? He did what? There's one word in particular that he did. He cursed it, right? Because the tree wasn't producing fruit. That's an underlying principle that you might skip over. See, the disciples was marveling at the fact that the tree withered away, but wasn't really peeping that the tree didn't have fruit, and because the tree wasn't producing fruit, it in turn got cursed and withered up and died, right? And was never going to produce fruit again. So it's sort of a parable, right? We understand that there's going to be parables and dark sayings all throughout the scripture. So it's actually a parable. In this case, what do you think the tree represents? Good, right? And so what does the fruit represent? Works, but righteousness, like you said. Not just any works, but righteous works. So let's go to Judges chapter 6. I'm sorry. Let's go to Judges chapter 9. Judges chapter 9. And we'll start off at I think verse. So we're gonna learn something today. We're gonna learn something today, and we're gonna pull it right out of the text. Judges chapter 9 and verse. Let's start at verse 1.
Judges chapter 9 and verse 1. And Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, went to Shechem unto his mother's brethren, and communed with them and with all the family of the house of his mother's father, saying, speak, I pray you, in the ears of all the men of Shechem.
That's good. So Abimelech, little Hebrew for y'all. Anybody know the word father in Hebrew? Right. So y'all know how when we say the prayer at the end, we pray out, we start off with what? What word? Abinu, right? So you see Abi right here in this word, right? Abinu means our father. Abi means my father, right? Anybody know what Melech means? King. So this word, this name in particular means my father is the king, or the king is my father, right? Just thought that was pretty, But anyhow, do anybody know who Jerubbaal is? Everybody, do you know who Jerubbaal is? It says Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, went into Shechem. Do anybody know who Jerubbaal is? He like, do you know? Don't cheat. But he like one of the major characters, one of the major people in the scriptures. Like this story is one that they've made movies about, or a movie in particular about. Anybody know? Okay.
I know, but
don't cheat.
It's too late.
Don't cheat.
Man, you know, that's back to be off the break. What you saying?
And he cheat. You look at the definition?
of course.
Okay.
That ain't cheating.
So-
That's kind of like extensive research.
That's like limited research. That is extensive. But anyhow, let's go. Because that's easy to look at the definition. Let's go to Judges chapter 6. We're gonna learn real quick who Jerubbaal is. Is it any other words that y'all see in that name? Real quick. Baal, right? Right. So his name got something to do with Baal. Right? So Judges 6 and verse 29.
Judges chapter 6 at verse 29. And they said one to another, who have done this thing? And when they inquired and asked, they said, Gideon, the son of Joash, have done this thing. Then the men of the city said unto Joash, bring out your son, that he may die, because he hath cast down the altar of Baal, and because he hath cut down the grove that was by it.
Okay, so Gideon, we know what Gideon did, right? What he's famous for, right? He took the 300 men and smashed out the Midianites, right? Okay, so Joash is his pops, and they told him, go get your son. We about to kill him because he, you know, it says that verse 30 says that he cast down the altar of Baal, and because he had cut down the grove that was by it. Verse 31.
And Joash said unto all that stood against him, will you plead for Baal? Will you save him? He that will plead for him, let him be put to death while it's yet morning. If he be a god, let him plead for himself, because one hath cast down his altar. Therefore, on that day he called him Jerubbaal, saying, let Baal plead against him, because he hath thrown down his altar.
Okay, so who is Jerubbaal? Gideon, right? Gideon. So because Gideon did what he did, and they said that he had thrown down the altar, they called him from that day forth. They called him Jerubbaal, saying, because let Baal plead against him. So that's what that name means. But the person is actually Gideon, right? Y'all with me so far? Okay, let's go to Judges chapter 8 and verse 29.
Judges chapter 8 and verse 29.
I'm sorry, real quick, but I like to do that kind of thing. If I come across somebody's name and I don't know who it is, I try to find who it is. And I try to find it not just by the definition, which the definition do state it, no problem, but I like to find it in scripture where it states that's his name. You know what I mean? That's just my study habit. Okay, so Judges 8 and 29.
And Jerubbaal, the son of Joash, went and dwelt in his own house. And Gideon had 70 sons of his body begotten, for he had many wives.
So he had 70. It say 70, which is 70. He had 70 children, right? Or 70 sons. 70 sons. For he had many wives. But notice how I used the names interchangeable right there, right? We had Judges 8 and 29. Shabbat shalom. So it say Jerubbaal, the son of Joash, when it dwelt in his own house. And Gideon. So it used the names interchangeably right there. But it's verse 31.
And his concubine that was in Shechem, she also bare him a son, whose name he called Abimelech.
Okay, so this is how Abimelech came about. This was the son of Gideon and one of his concubines, because he had a bunch of wives. Back to Judges 9, and we're gonna go to verse 2. So we pick up the story where Abimelech, just wanted to give y'all a little backdrop. Abimelech went to Shechem amongst his mother's brother, you know, so he went to the house of his mother's father. And so he's speaking to his actual brother through his mom. And what did he say? Verse 2.
Speak, I pray you, in the ears of all the men of Shechem, whether it's better for you, either that all the sons of Jerubbaal and 10 persons reign over you, or that one reign over you. Remember also that I am your bone and your flesh. Okay, so he like, look, is it good for all 70 of the sons of Gideon to reign over you, or just one? And remember, we blood. We blood. I'm your people, right? So he lobbying with the people to be the king over them, right? Go ahead. And his mother's brethren spake of him in the ears of all the men of Shechem all these words, and their hearts inclined to follow Abimelech. But they said, he is our brother. And they gave him 70 pieces of silver out of the house of Baal Berith, wherewith Abimelech hired vain and light persons which followed him. And he went unto his father's house at Ophrah, and slew his brethren, the sons of Jerubbaal, being 70 persons, upon one stone. Notwithstanding, yet Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, was left, for he hid himself. And all the men of Shechem gathered together, and all the house of Milo, and went and made Abimelech king by the plain of the pillar that was in Shechem. Okay, so he went and killed all his brothers, right? Except for Jotham. Except for Jotham, who was the youngest. He fled away. So let's go to verse 7. Let's keep going. Verse 7. Verse 7. And when they told it to Jotham, he went and stood at the top of Mount Gerizim, and lifted up his voice and cried and said unto them, listen to me, you men of Shechem, that Elohim may listen unto you. The trees went forth on a time to anoint a king over them. Who went forth? The trees went forth on a time to anoint a king over them. So listen to the comparison that he's making. So we dealt already showing the fig tree, right? The underlying meaning of the fig tree being cursed. So now listen to the metaphor that's being used here by Jotham. He said the trees went forth to anoint the king, and what happened? And they said unto the olive tree, reign you over us. But the olive tree said unto them, shall I leave my fatness, wherewith by me they honor Elohim and man, and go to be promoted over the trees? So they went to the olive tree, and the olive tree was like, nah, I'm good. I'm in a good spot. I'm straight. Go ahead. And the tree said to the fig tree, come you and reign over us. But the fig tree said unto them, should I forsake my sweetness and my good fruit and go to be promoted over the trees? And so when they came to the fig tree, same thing. The fig tree like, nah, I'm good. Nah, I'm straight. I ain't leaving. I'm in a good spot already. Go ahead. Then said the trees unto the vine, come you and reign over us. And the vine said unto them, should I leave my wine, which cheereth Elohim and man, and go to be promoted over the trees? Then said all the trees unto the bramble. Unto the what? Unto the bramble. What's the bramble? Anybody know what is it? Thistles, right? Thorns and thistles. We know anything about thorns and thistles? What's compared as thorns and thistles in the gospel? Yeah, pretty much wicked, bad people, right? So exactly. So it's saying the trees is basically looking for the trees are, we already done disclosed that the trees are people. And so the trees went to the vine, went to the fig tree, went to the olive tree, ran over us, and they all denied him. So what did they do? They went to the bramble or the thistle, which we understand is a wicked person. Who you think the bramble is in this story? Abimelech, right? Who went and killed all his brothers. So it say it went to the bramble and said to the bramble what? Come you and reign over us. And the bramble said unto the trees, if in truth you anoint me king over you, then come and put your trust in my shadow. And if not, let fire come out of the bramble and devour the cedars of Lebanon. Now therefore, if you have done truly and sincerely, and that you have made Abimelech king, and if you have dealt well with Jerubbaal and his house, and have done unto him according to the deserving of his hands, for my father fought for you, and ventured his life far, and delivered you out of the hands of Midian, and you are risen up against my father's house this day, and have slain his sons, 70 persons upon one stone, and have made Abimelech the son of his maidservant king over the men of Shechem, right? Because he your brother?
No, exactly. Understand what Abimelech was. You know what I'm saying? Now, this is his own brother, but he knew what he was. You understand that he's making a comparison with him being a thorn or a thistle or a bramble. And he's saying that y'all appointed him to be king over y'all just because he your blood, the son of his concubine? Like, he had many wives, but this is the son of his concubine, and y'all killed all his sons? Like, this is how you honor my father who delivered y'all from the Midianites? If this is true, you know what I mean? So he made the comparison, but I pulled that out to show y'all the analogy that's made between trees and men, right? So going back to the first initial scripture with the fig tree being cursed because it didn't produce any fruit, right? So we're gonna go a little bit deeper. Let's go into Isaiah chapter 61. Right. 61 and verse 11. Right. Cause he
61 and what?
61 and verse 11.
Isaiah chapter 61 and verse 11. For as the earth bringeth forth her bud, and the garden calls the things that are sown in it to spring forth, Elohim will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all the nations.
So look at the comparison. Same thing. As the earth brings forth her bud, and the garden causes the things that are sown to spring forth, so will the Most High cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all the nations. Now, what do you think this righteousness and praise was that was going to spring forth before all the nations? Who? Truth. No. Listen to what it's saying. He will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all the nations, before all the other nations. Who is supposed to be the light to all the nations? Not just the Mashiach, but actually Israel itself. Israel itself was supposed to be the light unto all the nations, right? So righteousness and praise to spring forth is talking about the righteous seed of Israel, not just all of Israel, but the righteous seed of Israel. Let's go to Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1 at verse 11.
Oh, okay. Genesis of Bereshit chapter 1 at verse 11. And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind.
After his what?
After his kind.
After his kind. That's key right there. Go ahead.
Whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good.
So the earth brought forth seed at the word of the Most High, right? And trees yielding fruit after its kind, at the word of the Most High, right? So why did Mashiach curse the fig tree? Because it didn't bring forth fruit. What is the law for the tree? After bring forth fruit after its kind, right? So the tree was doing what? The tree itself broke the law. It was in violation of the law because the law stated that the trees were supposed to bring forth fruit after its kind. So it was in violation. So because the tree was in violation of the law, he cursed it. And it did what? It withered away and it died, right? We're gonna see this a little more key. Let's go to John chapter 15. John 15th chapter, in verse 1.
John, Yehukanan, chapter 15 and verse 1. I am the true vine.
I am who?
I am the true vine.
Who is this speaking? Mashiach, right? Go ahead.
And my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that bear not fruit, he take away.
Do what? Read it again.
Every branch in me that bear not fruit, he take away.
So if he's the true vine and the Most High is the husbandman, right? The husbandman does what? Tend the garden, right? He plant and he reap and he sow, right? And he says that every branch that is in me that bear not fruit, he do what? He take it away. Just like the fig tree, right? The fig tree didn't bear no fruit. So what did Mashiach do? Took it away. Read.
And every branch that bear fruit, he purge it, that it may bring forth more fruit.
And every branch that bear fruit. So we already determined, right? The trees were what? And the fruit was what?
Righteous works.
Righteous works. So every tree that bears fruit or every person that has righteous works, he purged it so it does what? More fruit, more righteous works, right? Go ahead.
Now you are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can you, except you abide in me.
So every tree bearing seed produce fruit after what?
It's kind.
After its kind, right? So if Mashiach is the vine and we the branches and we after his, then what kind of fruit we supposed to bear? Is it right? Go ahead.
Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can you, except you abide in me. I am the vine. You are the branch. He that abide in me, and I in him, the same bring forth much fruit.
The same bring forth much fruit. Go ahead.
For without me, you can do nothing.
But what?
Without me, you can do nothing. If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch, and he is withered. And men gather them and cast them into the fire.
So you see that right there? If you don't got the fruit, if you don't abide in me, which means you ain't producing the fruit. And if you ain't producing the fruit, you ain't abiding in me. What they say, the branch is what? Withered, right? Gathered together and cast in the fire. Just like that fig tree. You understand that basic principle that we usually overlook, like it's a whole law behind it, right? And the whole teaching of Mashiach himself. But that fruit, that tree bearing fruit after its kind. Go ahead.
If you abide, and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. If you abide in me, abide in you, you shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you. Herein is my Father esteemed, that you bear much fruit, so shall you be my disciples. And the Father have loved me, so I have loved you. Continue in my love.
Jump down to verse 16.
Verse 16. You have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and ordained you, that you should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit shall remain, that whatsoever you shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it you.
That's good. Let's go to Matthew chapter 13. But y'all see that right there? How that whole thing, that whole parable come full circle, right? And he's showing you the metaphor in its natural state as far as his teachings go.
Absolutely.
Matthew 13 in verse 1.
Matthew, or Matik Yahoo, chapter 13 at verse 1. The same day went Yeshua out of the house and sat by the seaside, and great multitudes were gathered together unto him, so that he went into a ship and sat, and the whole multitude stood on the shore. And he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went forth to sow.
Now, who is a sower? What does that mean, the sower? Talking about garments? Talking about garments here or what? Huh? Okay, but this in this parable, what is the sower?
Oh, it's the person that the garden man that
the husbandman, right?
Yeah, the husband.
Who did it say that the husband was? Who did we find out that the husbandman was? Go ahead.
And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell upon stony places, but they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up, because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had not root, they withered away. And some fell among the thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them.
And some fell among the thorns, or the thistles, or the brambles, right? And it say when the sun came, it says when the thorns sprung up, it say that it choked them. Verse 8.
But others fell into good ground and brought forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Who hath an ear, let him hear.
Who have an ear, let him hear. So you understand that the parable of the sower being the Most High, the husbandman, right? So he went to sow seed, right? And some seed fell on stony ground, which means it didn't get nothing. Some seed it fell in other places where it says it couldn't take root. And then when the sun came out, it scorched it, right? What y'all think that means?
When the roots are not grounded, that means when persecution comes, they fold.
That's right, because it's a lack of what? Not just, faith, yeah. Say it again. No foundation, exactly, because it didn't take root. So the foundation is not there. So that if somebody, like she's saying, if persecution comes, or a person who has more, I wouldn't even say more understanding, but who has, I would say more understanding, but somebody with more understanding, like coming out of the Christian church or Jehovah's Witness or whatever your background was, right? We first came into this truth and you had enough zeal to challenge, right? And that first challenge, how did it go?
Bad.
Did you get?
I watched it. I
Okay.
wasn't a part. I wasn't like the guy.
Yeah.
I watched. It was horrible.
Did anybody else have that when you was like, this ain't right? I'm gonna say something. How did that very first challenge go? Or even amongst your friends or colleagues or peers, when you first came into this truth and you said, I'm gonna say something. And that very first challenge, how did it go? How bad did you get whooped that day? But you knew that this was the truth. That's why you're still here. But it's some who didn't have any foundation, who wavered. Like you said, that faith wasn't there. The foundation, the root wasn't there. They wasn't planted firm. So that when they took that first whooping, it was like, well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not right. Maybe it ain't the real thing. You know? And I always use the analogy of like building a electronic, like a TV. I said use a TV. So it's like when somebody come asking you, well, how did the picture get there? And you're like, you just press the button and the picture come on. No, but how does it work? And you don't really know the inner workings of the TV well enough to explain to somebody that, well, you got this, you got a circuit board here, you got this, and then, and it's it's the screen, and that's how the picture get there. And you don't know the inner workings well enough to be able to give that thorough of an explanation. The same thing with the scriptures. When somebody like, yo, what? We the children of Israel, well, what do that mean? Like what's the difference? Like, God love everybody. You know what I'm saying? Jesus, don't matter what color Jesus is. And you're like, nah, but how? Tell me. But you don't really know the inner workings of the scriptures well enough to explain to them, you know what I'm saying, to get them to understand. So it's just like Nah, I ain't buying it. And you know what I'm saying? They'll take you to a couple Paul verses, and you sit there like, I know, but I know that this, you know what I'm saying? But that the difference is you fell on that good ground, right? Even though you was early in your understanding, you might be what the scriptures call a babe, or new. It was new. You still had a firm enough grasp on the word to whereas you wasn't shaking because you took that whooping. I mean, I took a whooping. I figure we all somewhere along the line, our stories are very similar. When it comes to first coming into this truth, to the fact that usually we take a whooping because we jump out there like. As well go ahead. You gotta take a couple whoopings so you get nice with your hands. You know what I'm saying? Let's stay in Matthew 13, verse 18.
Verse 18. Hear you therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone hear the word of the kingdom and understand it not, then come the wicked one and catch away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which receives seed by the wayside. But he that receives seed into stony places, the same is he that hear the word, and anon with joy receive it. Yet hath he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. And when tribulation or persecution arise because of the word, by and by he is offended.
Exactly like what you said. When persecution or tribulation, or if you get, you catching it a little bit, when you got, you want to feel like you want to endure. I mean, when you endure for a little while, but you don't really have that foundation or that root really set up, and then you got people who will come against you for what you believe, and they'll wind up causing you to, throw it away because you ain't strong enough rooted in yourself. You know what I mean? That's why you got to be ready when somebody try to challenge you on your beliefs. It's not, I'm to the point now where I don't force feed what I believe to anyone. I ain't gonna try to force it on you. But if you ask me, or if we having a conversation about it, oh yeah, you gonna get this work. I'm gonna give it all to you, and I ain't holding back. You know what I mean? It was one point to where I couldn't have a conversation where I was like with just regular people and we talking about regular stuff, and I'm like, well, the scriptures say, and then to get to the point where they're like, man, nobody want to hear that no more. You know what I mean? We just talk, we just have a regular conversation. Man, that stuff ain't real. Because man, nobody want to hear that, man. You catch that too. But having that foundation is key. But you gotta be able to stand up in that day when somebody come and they chop, because it's a testament of where your beliefs really are. Do you really believe? You know what I mean? And do you really believe? If you believe, is it blind or is it real? If you just believe because we come here and we keep Shabbat every week and this is what this is what we doing, then yeah, I believe, but do you really have a firm grasp on what's here? Firm enough to stand in the face of adversity and hold your own when somebody try to challenge, or when your faith or your understanding is challenged. It's in you to be able to say, I'm gonna be the first person to tell you about me. I can't quote scripture. I don't know where they at. I don't know where they at. That is not my forte. I can quote them, but I can't tell you where they are. You know what I mean? I can whip my phone out and find them because I know them, but I don't know where they are. So that's that I can do that. So I'm not saying you got to know, because I don't. And I wouldn't put that on nobody, because you got to be a special individual to be able to do something like that. And my brother right here, he's good at it. He's got that young mind. What's your
Complaining on the youth.
Yeah, but yeah.
No, I just want to say, I think I experienced that myself. Sometimes when you are able to go into the scriptures and you want to share the things with the person that's opposed to you, sometimes they don't give you an opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They just over talk you, over talk you, and you know exactly where to go, but they won't be quiet.
And see,
And what I try to practice is not so much. I'm not trying to argue.
right,
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm like in the right hand hard place because I'm like, you gotta let me talk. I know exactly where to go. I'm not gonna argue with him. So that's it. Let me finish talking, and I'm out of here.
yeah,
And that's how it is most of the time. If you run upon brothers that you know.
yeah. And see, that's when you have to use what we like to call, you got to use your lawyer skills, right? We kind of uphold using our skills as being, lawyers, in the sense that you got to be tactful in your approach when you're dealing with somebody like that, and you got to use wisdom, right? So if somebody coming at you and they over talking you, we just had this. Well, we sat down with that pastor. How long ago was that? 2 months. It was, I don't know. It was still kind of chilly out, but we sat down with a pastor. It was 4 of us, right? Me, you, Alan, and you shot. Was that? Yeah. And this dude would not let me get a word in. I mean, everybody else was cool, but as soon as I started talking, he cut me off completely. Every single time. And I didn't try to overtalk him. I just let him talk. Because all he did was just dig himself into a bigger hole. Plus, I know that the brothers already had it. I'm going to let y'all get it. It just ain't mine. It ain't fun. For some reason, he didn't want to hear me. But when he got quiet enough, when they got on his head enough, and he got quiet enough to where I could get a word in, I gave him some good, But, and at the end of it, he knew what the real deal was. You know what I mean? He walked away from that dialogue like, I mean, I know what y'all saying is the truth, but his pride in being a pastor, and he wanted to be heard. That's what you gotta understand that about people that do a lot of talking, is because they usually haven't been heard, and they gotta be heard. You got to hear what I'm saying, because all my life nobody ever listened to me. So you gonna listen. So I'm gonna talk so much that you ain't gonna have no choice but to listen. You know what I mean? And you will notice that. And it could be for whatever reason. Maybe they was the youngest child and they was looked over, or maybe whatever the situation was. They just like to talk a whole lot. And sometimes you just gotta let them talk, and then just ask them at the end, like, "Are you finished?" Okay, yeah, I'm done. Okay, because if we're gonna talk, it's like if we're gonna have a conversation, it's got to be a dialogue. I mean, I'm cool with having a conversation, but if you're gonna do all the talking, then just let me know. Like, I'll come back when you done. You know what I'm saying? Just I throw a little shot at him. Let me know. I'll come back when we finish talking. That way we can talk. You know what I mean? So you got to use, like I said, a little bit of tact, a little bit of wisdom when you're approaching every situation. That's what the scripture teaches us as far as being wise and harmless, right? Being wise as a serpent, but yet harmless as a dove. You got to use wisdom in certain situations. In certain situations where it require wisdom, you understand that this ain't a conversation that's to be had right now. Right. You know what I mean? And at that point, you sow a seed, whatever seed it might be, and you keep it moving. You know what I mean?
I also think about it too. Long suffering. You know what I'm saying? We always talk about long suffering with the Most High when she out with us. So sometimes when you see him going on and on and on, you know what I'm saying? Like you say, you got to tap into that wisdom. Okay, is this going to be fruitful? If what is what I have to say going to be fruitful to him, even if that's the only thing that he hear me say. So instead of just washing your hands while he's talking, like, you know what? Kind of take thought of that long suffering in, because the truth been in our face our whole life. It took us up until the point where we got it. So if we was bucked the whole time, we was bucking it our life, and he just said, you know what, I'm through with it. You know what I'm saying? So kind of taking into account that long suffering. And we done had some times where we done heard a lot of talking. I'm talking about a lot of talking. Then afterwards, like you say, you finished? Okay, let me, you know what I'm saying? So just take that into account too.
Yeah, I had a conversation. I don't know if it's been that recent, but a guy, he was still indoctrinated with a lot of the understanding that come out when you first come into this walk, and you're not really studied and you don't really know much. and he still had the zeal to where he just wanted to argue, like literally like raise his voice and yell at me through the phone. And I fed into it. And so at one point, we was yelling at each other. Neither one of us could hear what the other one is saying. And after a couple of times, I just stopped, like, look, bro, if we're gonna talk, let's talk. If you want to argue, let's stop. Because this is not, I can't do it. I'm not gonna argue with you. So I fell into the trap. He got me. I had to, like, he got me. But you know, eventually you just gotta look, man. We're gonna talk or we're gonna not, you know. So let's get back to this. My bad. Matthew 13. Where did we leave off at? 22.
He also that receives seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he become unfruitful.
He become what?
Unfruitful.
What do you think his end is? Go ahead. Verse 23.
But he that receives seed in the good ground is he that hear the word and understand it, which also bear fruit and bring forth some 100-fold, some 60, some 30.
So the same description he gave when he explained that he was the vine and we the branches, right? When you bring forth fruit, some 60, some 30, some 100-fold, right? Let's grab Genesis chapter 6 and verse 19. I want to go through something real quick. We understand what Genesis 1 and 11 was, right? Just briefly. The trees bring forth seed in itself, or fruit, and let the fruit tree yield fruit after his kind. I want to touch on that. Let's go Genesis 6 and 19. Genesis 6 and verse 19.
Genesis, or Bereshit, chapter 6.
Matter of fact, before we go there, yes, sir. Quick question. Genesis 1 and 11, I'll just read it real quick. And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth grass, an herb yielding seed, and a fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. So where else in the scriptures do we see that something had to be brought forth after its kind? I kind of already gave it away, but maybe I ain't read it there just to get you to think. It's another place in scripture in particular, very important passage of scripture, where things had to be brought forth after their kind. After the beginning. We already went through the beginning.
After the flood.
Not after the flood. Before the flood, right? Before the flood.
Oh, yeah.
Genesis 6. What would you say?
I was thinking the children, the seed bring forth that.
Okay.
So kind
We're gonna get there. You be in my lessons. Genesis 6 and 19.
Bereshit, or Genesis chapter 6 and verse 19. And of every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shall you bring into the ark, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, of fowls after their kind, and of cattle after their kind, and of every creeping thing of the earth after his kind. 2 of every sort shall come unto you, to keep them alive.
That's good right there. What type of man was Noah? Good, righteous, right? Genesis, let's say chapter 6, verse 9.
Genesis chapter 6, verse 9. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generation.
And what?
And perfect in his generation. And Noah walked with Elohim.
Okay.
And Noah begot 3 sons.
That's good right there. Okay. So Noah being the perfect man, right? Because we understand that what went on the ark? What all went on the ark?
2 of everything.
2 of every beast except
2 of every beast that served the enemies was by 7.
Was by 7, right? So every beast that went on the ark was after its own kind, right? What didn't we hear about going on the ark after its kind?
Fish.
Well, fish can survive in the water. But what else? What else did Noah have to bring onto the ark after its kind? People, right? People. The Most High never told him bring people after his, or man after his kind, right? But he chose Noah, who the book say was perfect. And so who went on the ark with Noah?
His kind. His kind.
His kind, right? So let's just check that out. Verse 18.
Verse 18. But with you will I establish my covenant, and you shall come into the ark, you and your sons, and your wife, and your sons' wives with you.
So did Noah just take him with him because that was his family? No. He told him, that's who's going to come with you. So these people had to be after his kind, right? Genesis 9 in verse 1.
Genesis, or Bereshit, chapter 9 and verse 1. And Elohim blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth.
Verse 8.
Verse 8.
This is key right here.
And Elohim spake unto Noah and to his sons with him.
Spake unto Noah and who?
And his sons with him.
And his sons with him. And what did he say?
Saying, and I, behold, I establish my covenant with you.
With just Noah?
With you.
With Noah and his sons with him. He established the covenant. Now this particular covenant was about the rain, about not destroying the earth with water anymore. Because he established it with all the beasts that came off of the ark. But he understand that they were all after their kind. So that meant that Noah's sons were after his kind, right? So they had to be righteous as well. They learned from Noah. Noah was a perfect man, upright and righteous. They learned from him. So they had to be of the same kind. But we're going to see something. Let's go to Genesis. We in Genesis 9, verse 22.
May I say something?
Sure.
And it also says, and with your seed after.
Right. I missed that. Yeah, I missed that part.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. And it does. It definitely says, and with your seed after, letting them know. So if Noah was the tree, right, and then all the fruit that came from Noah was going to be increased based on him being a righteous man. But we're going to see something happen here. Genesis 9, verse 22.
Verse 22. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his 2 brethren without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders, and went backwards, and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were backwards, and they saw not their father's nakedness. And Noah awoke from his wine, and knew what his younger son had done unto him. And he said, cursed be Canaan.
Okay, so once he saw that Canaan, that Ham didn't produce fruit after righteousness, right? The righteous works. What did he do? Cursed him, just like the fig tree got cursed, right? Go ahead.
Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. And he said, increased be Yahuwah Elohim of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And Elohim shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. That's
good. First Chronicles chapter 1. First Chronicles chapter 1 and verse 13. Yeah, First Chronicles chapter 1. I know nobody ever read Chronicles chapter 1. Y'all skip right over that one. I know y'all skip over that. And then cursed Ham, he cursed Canaan. So we about to see something specific with Canaan, right? Chapter 1 and verse 13.
First Chronicles chapter 1, verse 13. And Canaan begot Zidon, his firstborn, and Het. The Jebusite also.
So wait. So Het was the progenitor of who? No. Who? Of who? Anybody? Het was one of Cain. Not Cain. Canaan's son. Het. The Hittites, right? The Hittites were descendants of Canaan. Just wanted to show y'all that real quick, but keep going.
What was that name?
Verse 14.
The Jebusite also, and the Amorite, and the Girgashite, and the Hivite, and the Archite, and the Seonite, and the Abadite, and the Zemarite, and the Hamathite.
Okay, so you got the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, is all seeds of Canaan, right? Exodus 34, verse 11.
Sunday day.
Thirty-four and 11.
34 and 11. It reads, observe you that which I command this day. Behold, I drive out before you the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite.
All descendants of who?
Canaan.
Canaan, right? Go ahead.
Take heed to yourself, lest you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, whether you go. Lest it be for a snare in the midst of you.
Okay, so I'm gonna drive these descendants of Canaan that's in the land of Canaan. I gave you the land of Canaan. I'm gonna drive all the descendants of Canaan up out of there, right? Don't make no league with these people. Don't give your sons to their daughters. I mean, don't take none of their daughters for your sons. Don't give none of your daughters to their sons. That was what the Most High established with the children of Israel before we went into the land of Canaan, right? So check this out. Let's go to did we read that verse 16? No. Read verse 16.
And you take of their daughters unto your sons, and their daughters go a whoring after their gods, and make your sons go a whoring after their gods.
So even though it's cool for your sons to, no, not them, because what's gonna happen is they gonna cause your sons to go off. None of they women, don't let your women mess with none of their sons. Get them up out of there. I'm gonna drive them out. Get them up out of there. Let's go to Joshua chapter 9. We're gonna read this chapter 9 out of Joshua because it's kind of funny to me. It's like hilarious, but
So come on.
it's kind of funny. But we're gonna read chapter 9.
Joshua chapter 9 at verse 1. And it came to pass when all the kings which were on this side Jordan, in the hills and in the valleys, and in the coast of the great sea over against Lebanon, the Hittite and the Amorite and the Canaanite and the Perizzite and the Hivite and the Jebusite heard thereof, that they gathered themselves together to fight with Joshua and with Israel with one accord.
Okay, so they understood. The children of Israel have crossed over the Jordan. They coming for these people. They done already knocked down the walls of Jericho. And this people knew. You understand? They said they heard. So they got together. They about to fight. They want to try to fight with the children of Israel. And it's these same sons of Canaan, right? These same people who the Most High told them don't have no league with, the same descendants of Canaan, the same ones that was hurt because he had the unfruitful works when he broke the law. When he broke the law, just like the fig tree, broke the law and looked at his father's nakedness, right? Keep going.
And they gathered themselves together to fight with Joshua and with Israel with one accord. And when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done unto Jericho and to Ai, they did work willingly and went and made as if they had been ambassadors, and took old sacks of their donkeys and wine bottles, old and rent, and bound up, and old shoes, and clouded upon their feet, and old garments upon them, And all the bread of their provision was dry and moldy.
Okay, so when they got together, they got all their old shoes, their old clothes, the old sacks, and threw them on the donkeys. They got old moldy bread before they went to Joshua, right? I just picture this stuff in your mind. All this old stuff that they done gathered together before they go meet with Joshua. Go ahead, verse 6.
And they went to Joshua unto the camp at Gilgal, and said unto him and to the men of Israel, we be come from a far country. Now therefore make you a league with us.
Look, we came from a far place. Make a covenant with us. Right? We done traveled so far to meet y'all. Make a covenant with us. Pete, verse 7.
And the men of Israel said unto the Hivites, perhaps you dwell among us. How shall we make a league with you?
Maybe you the people of the land. Why should we make a league with you? Go ahead.
And they said unto Joshua, we are your servants. And Joshua said unto them, who are you? And from where you come?
So where you come from? Now listen to what these people tell him.
And they said unto him, from a very far country. Your servants are come because of the name of Yahuwah your Elohim. We have heard the fame of him, and all that he did in Egypt, and all that he did to the 2 kings of the Amorites, and were beyond Jordan to Sihon, king of Heshbon, and to Og, king of Bashan, which was at Ashtaroth. Elders and all the inhabitants of our country spake to us, saying, take victuals with you for your journey.
So take some food for your journey. So they got the old moldy bread because they trying to make it seem like they've been journeying for a long time, right? Go ahead.
And go with you for the journey, and go to meet them, and say to them, we are your servants. Therefore now make you a league with us. This our bread we took hot for our provision out of our house.
So this our bread was hot when we left home. Go ahead.
On the day that we came forth unto you, but now behold, it's dry and moldy. These bottles of wine which was filled were new. And behold, they be rent. These are our garments, and our shoes become old by reason of the long journey. And the men took of their victuals and asked not counsel at the mouth of Yahuwah.
Mistake, right? So they see this stuff with their eyes, right? This is a whole nother principle. But they see this stuff with their eyes, like, okay, the bread is old and moldy.
Right.
Like, yeah, them is last year's Jordans. Like, that garment kind of busted. Like, dang, what happened to y'all wineskins? Like, yeah, y'all must have been traveling far because everything y'all got on is old and dusty and y'all looking bold. So it said they seen it, but they didn't seek the answer from y'all, right? Go ahead.
And Joshua made peace with them and made a league with them to let them live. And the princes of the congregation swear unto them.
So Joshua, or the people, they like, how we know y'all ain't from this place? How we know this ain't y'all country? Y'all know we're not from here. Look at all our old stuff. We traveled. Our bread was hot out the oven when we left. Like our clothes was new. Like look at our stuff. Like look, you can tell we traveled. We're not them. No, we're not the Hivites. We ain't the Girgashites.
That ain't us.
No, that ain't us. What who you talking about? Eh? So it said that Joshua made a league with them, and he allowed them to live. And the princes of the congregation swear unto them. Verse 16.
And it came to pass at the end of 3 days, after they had made a league with them, that they heard that they were their neighbors, and that they dwelt among them.
So then they found out that y'all actually the people that live in the land. Go ahead.
And the children of Israel journeyed and came unto their cities on the 3rd day. Now their cities were Gibeon and and Shephirah, and Beeroth, and Kiryath, Kiryath Yarim. And the children of Israel smote them not, because the princes of the congregation had sworn unto them by Yahuwah Elohim of Israel. And all the congregation murmured against the princes.
Right. But I know we were supposed to kill them, but they had already swore oath. So they couldn't go back on it.
I got a question for you, though.
Uh-huh.
Because they made an oath with them under false pretenses. Could that oath be dismissed?
I don't think so, because they swore the oath before the Most High. That's why it's key in saying that in verse 18. It says, but because the princes of the congregation swore unto them by Yahuwah Elohim of Israel.
Okay,
but that's the law. The law is if you swear an oath, you got to carry that oath out. Apparently, this is the example right here showing you that even though somebody lied to you and you swear an oath before the Most High, that means you got to carry out your oath even though they lied. What?
I just want to say that I think the key is like you said before, verse 14, where it says, "Lead to the victual and ask not counsel."
Yeah,
that's the key.
Absolutely, that's the key. Absolutely, that's the key. Well, and that's not even the point that I'm trying to drive with this, but that is key in your understanding. If you feel like you need to make an oath, you better seek the Most High first, right? But let's continue, because I want to pull this point out.
Verse 19. But all the princes said unto all the congregation, we have sworn unto them by Yahuwah Elohim of Israel. Now therefore, we can't touch it. This we will do to them. We will even let them live, lest wrath be upon us, because of the oath which we swear unto them.
So yeah, even though they lied, we swore oath before the Most High. And if we break our oath, then he gonna get us. Right? Go ahead.
And the princes said unto them, let them live, but let them be hewers of wood and drawers of water unto all the congregation. And promised them. And Joshua called for them, and he spake unto them, saying, wherefore have you beguiled us, saying, we come from a very far place, and you dwell among us. Now therefore you are cursed.
You are what?
You are cursed. And there shall none of you be freed from being bondmen and hewers of wood.
From being what?
Bondmen and hewers of wood.
What was the curse of, what was Canaan's curse? Servant of servants, right? Go ahead.
And hewers of wood and drawers of water for the house of my Elohim. And they answered Joshua and said, because it was certainly told your servants how that Yahuwah had commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land before you. Therefore, we were sore afraid of our lives because of you, and have done this thing. And now, behold, we are in your hand, as it seemed good and right to you to do unto us. Do. And so did he unto them, and delivered them out of the hand of the children of Israel, that they slew them not. And Joshua made them that day hewers of wood and jars of water for the congregation and for the altar of Yahuwah, even unto this day, in the place which he should choose.
Which he shall choose. So basically, they were servants. And these was, I brought that out, like I said, backing up everything with scripture, showing you how Noah's sons, after his kind, right? But then once he had unfruitful works, that his seed or his fruit was cursed, right? And then we pulled out all the descendants of Canaan. And then we showed you all these same descendants, the Most High said, make no league with them. And he cursed them to be servants. And now we're showing you where they actually became the servants, hewers of wood and drawers of water until this day. They dwelt with them, whatever day this was actually recorded. But until that particular time, they were still servants of the people. Now let's go to, because we understand when we're talking about curses, right? One of the major things that we pull out of these scriptures as Israelites is what? Deuteronomy 28. The curses, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and verse 18.
Deuteronomy or Devarim, chapter 28 and verse 18. Cursed be the fruit of your body and the fruit of your land, the increase of your kind, and the flocks of your sheep.
Now, this kind is a different kind. This kind is talking about cattle. Notice it's not kind with a D, but it's kind with an E. It's talking about the cattle. But the very first statement there, cursed shall be the fruit of your body, which is what? The children, right? Verse 32.
Verse 32, your sons and your daughters shall be given unto another people, and your eyes shall look and fill with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in your hand.
Verse 41.
Verse 41, you shall beget sons and daughters, but you shall not enjoy them, but they shall go into captivity.
Now, all these curses, right? What's going to happen when? If what? If they didn't keep the law, if they did not produce righteous works, if the fruit that they produced was not of righteous works, then they was going to be all these curses, and they was going to wither, right? The fruit of these people was going to be cursed, right? Lamentations chapter 1 and verse 4. Lamentations chapter 1 and verse 4.
Lamentations chapter 1 at verse 4. The ways of Zion do mourn, because none come to the solemn feast. All her gates are desolate, her priests sigh, her virgins are afflicted, and she is in bitterness. Her adversaries are the chief, and her enemies prosper. Yahuwah have afflicted her for the multitude of her transgression.
For the what?
For the multitude of her transgression. Her children are gone into captivity before the enemy. And from the dark.
That's good, that's good. So we understand, according to this in Lamentations, does anybody know who wrote Lamentations? I didn't hear who's there. Anybody? No? Who's there? No Paul. No Paul yet. No, not yet. So, y'all know who was referred to as the crying prophet? Jeremiah, right? And what does Lamentations mean? It means cry, right? So, who do you think wrote Lamentations? It's speculated that Jeremiah wrote Lamentations. I don't know if it's 100%, but it's speculated that Jeremiah was the author of Lamentations, because he did it. So if Jeremiah was the author of Lamentations, right, this particular captivity that he's speaking about is which captivity? Which captivity did Jeremiah prophesy about? Let me see where y'all at. Nope. Yeah, which captivity? Which captivity that the children of Israel went into did Jeremiah prophesy about? Who? Assyria? No. Babylonian. It was the Babylonian captivity, right? Yeah. So when you read through and you see that read through the book of Jeremiah, you see that was preceding the Babylonian captivity and actually happening during the Babylonian captivity, and when they came and invaded, and Jeremiah actually went down to Egypt with some of the Israelites trying to escape out of that captivity, and they wound up getting smashed out. But this particular captivity that he's speaking of is the Babylonian captivity. So it's bringing to fruition the prophecy from Deuteronomy chapter 28 that's spoken of. We understand that this curse was perpetual and it happened over and over again, but this in particular is speaking about the Babylonian captivity, right? Let's grab, because we dealt with the curses. I want to just give y'all the sour fruit. We got to get the good works too. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 30.
Proverbs chapter 11 at verse 30. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life. And he that winneth souls are wise.
And he that wins souls are wise. But it says that the fruit of the righteous is a tree of life. So that the works that you producing is a tree of life. So what is that tree? What is that tree of life? Grab Isaiah 27:6. What is the tree of life? Who is the tree of life? I guess gotta make it easy. Mashiach, right? So it says that the fruit of the righteous is a tree of life. So if he is the vine and we the branches, the fruit that we producing will bring people to who? To him. He that winneth souls is wise, right? Okay. Isaiah 27 and verse 6.
Isaiah 27:6. He shall cause them that come of Jacob to take root.
He shall do what?
To cause them that come of Jacob to take root.
There we go, making that analogy with the tree and something that's springing forth from the earth again, right? Them that come of Jacob are who? Who comes of Jacob? Israel, right? So he shall cause them that come of Jacob to do what?
Take root.
To take root and do what?
Israel shall blossom as a bud. And fill the face of the world with fruit.
And fill the face of the world with fruit, right? 1 Corinthians chapter 3. So when we're talking about seed and harvest and all of these things, 1 Corinthians chapter 3, we got to understand these principles. Chapter 3 and verse 6.
1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 6. I have planted, Apollos watered, but Elohim gave the increase.
Okay, so the saying goes, one man plant, another man water, and the Most High provide the increase, right? So even like what we was talking about, if somebody just talking, maybe it's not your job to provide the increase. It ain't even, so either it's your job to plant the seed or water the seed and let the Most High provide the increase, right? So once we plant, or someone plants the seed, sometimes it only take a few little, tidbits just to water that seed that had already been planted in this man's ruach, right? Or this woman's ruach, Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 9. But just understanding the same reoccurring analogy, the same reoccurring metaphor of planting, sowing, trees, fruit, watering, all these things continuously reoccurring, right?
Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 9. For the fruit of the ruach.
Okay, you go right here. So he's the vine, we the branches, and the same bring forth much fruit. Let's see what that fruit is, because it's the fruit of the ruach, right? Let's see what that fruit is. Go ahead.
The fruit of the ruach
is what?
Is in all goodness and righteousness and truth.
And truth. All goodness and righteousness and truth. What's the truth? What's the truth? What's the truth? The law, right? It's in all goodness and righteousness and truth, or the law, or the Torah, right? The fruits of the ruach. Go ahead.
Proving what is acceptable unto the master.
Proving what is acceptable. So as long as you walking these things out according to goodness and righteousness and the law, these things that are acceptable to the Most High himself. Go ahead.
And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove.
And have no fellowship. Understand that. The unfruitful works of darkness, right? So we're talking about the fig tree and the fact that it had no fruit. Unfruitful, right? The works of darkness are unfruitful. They don't produce anything, especially when you're dealing with the ruach of the Most High, the fruits of the ruach. Like it said, goodness and righteousness and truth, or the law. The unfruitful works don't have anything to do with these things, right? Galatians chapter 5 and 22. We almost done, y'all. My bad. You got like 2 more points to hit.
Galatians chapter 5 at verse 22. But the fruit of the ruach is love, joy, peace, long suffering.
That's that long suffering tribe mentioned. Go ahead.
Gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance.
Temperance. Y'all understand what temperance is? Patience. Exactly. Good. Go ahead.
Against such, there is no law.
Against this, there is no law against these things. Go ahead.
And they that are in Mashiach have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. If we live in the Ruach, let us also walk in the Ruach. Let us not be desirous of vainglory, provoking one another, envying one another.
Let us not be desirous of vainglory or vain esteem, provoking one another or envying one another. And come along with that arguing, right? That strife and that arguing over the word and that debate. You know what I mean? If it's healthy dialogue, that's one thing. But if it's unfruitful debate, that's quite another. Psalms chapter 51. I'm sorry, we're gonna close out with this. Psalms chapter 51. So understanding about the unfruitful works and then the fruit that you need to produce as believers in this truth and walking this truth out and followers of the law, right? Understanding what the fruitful works are and the unfruitful works are, and understanding that these unfruitful works will cause curse and the fruitful works will cause blessing to produce more fruit. Some 60, some 30, some 100-fold, right? So understanding what these principles are built upon. If you are in a place in your life where your works are not fruitful, right? This Psalm 51 joint I felt like was key. It's like a prayer to the Father if you're dealing with this stuff for restoration, right? To bring you back to that place to where your works can become fruitful. To get you to that place if you haven't yet gotten there, to where your works can be on a level to where you're producing more fruit, to where you are a righteous branch that's coming from the vine, which is Mashiach, right? Verse 7.
Psalms 51 and verse 7. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow.
Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. Go ahead.
Make me to hear joy and gladness, that the bones which you have broken may rejoice. Hide your face from my sins, and blot out all my iniquities. Create in me a clean heart, O Elohim, and renew a right ruach within me.
And renew a right ruach within me. So if that means renew a right ruach within me, means that at one point you had a right ruach in you, right? So it asking it to be renewed within me. Create in me a clean heart. Purge me or clean me with your hyssop, right? Make me to hear joy and gladness. You know how they say, you ever heard the term selective hearing? So where somebody talk to you and all you can hear is the negativity. You know, but if you asking the Father to make you to hear the joy and the gladness or the good things that's being spoken. So it's like when those negative vibes come, you steer it away from it. And even if somebody has something negative to say, you can pull the positive out of it, right? Go ahead, finish that up.
Cast me not away from your presence, and take not your Kodesh spirit from me. Restore unto me the joy of your salvation, and uphold me with your free ruach.
Then what?
Then will I teach transgressors your ways.
Then will I teach the breakers of your law your ways.
And sinners shall be converted unto you.
And that's what it says. He that wins souls is wise, right? The fruit of the righteous is like the tree of life, and he that wins souls is wise. Then will I convert. Then will sinners shall be converted unto you. So I wanted to pull that out just because I know sometimes we get sidetracked, we get caught up, we get lost, and we might steer off of the path. And we need these kind of things, these understanding, because sometimes it's like, well, what do I say? I don't know where to start. I feel like I done did so much wrong. Where do I go to get back right? And this is a good starting point. This is some place to start. It always starts. That's like we pulled that thing out of Judges. The thing that they didn't do before they made a decision was they didn't seek the word of the Most High at his mouth. So this is what you're doing here. You seeking the Most High at his mouth. Listen, this is what I need. I understand. Nobody understands you better than you understand me. Let every man examine himself, right? And you see what it is that you're lacking. And you may need this restoration in your ruach so that you're able to produce right fruit You know what I mean? To the point where it's producing 30, 60, 100-fold or whatever. You know, this is for everybody. You know, because sometimes we get to the point where we fall off this life. We know what it is. You know, we know what it is. Or sometimes you might just be stagnant. And sometimes, you know, it's a point where, you know, at one point you was producing like you was, and then now you just kind of like, I'm just kind of here. You know, I ain't really found my niche just yet. You know, you got to get back to the level, because the goal is that just in itself. Produce, right? It ain't to sit on our hands and say we know the truth. Yeah, that's cool, but what you doing? Where your work's at? You know what I'm saying? What are you producing? Why your works? What are you producing? Are you just in this truth just because it's cool, because it's trendy? You know? Yeah, is it real to you? To the point where you reaching out to people, to where you producing fruit, to where you speaking the word of life into people, right? So I'll close out with that. Anybody had any questions? We can go ahead and ask.
I just wanted to mention Psalm 51. I use that as a prayer of repentance too. Mm-hmm. You know, whenever I want to repent, I go there and use it as a prayer of repentance too. It also states forgiveness,
right?
Humbleness.
Great point. Anybody else?
Was you good on that? That with them making the oath under false pretenses? Good.
It kind of broke it down as you went further on. It's like, you know, to say the people murmured against the princes, and they like, yo, we made a vow. If we go against our vow, then he gonna get on our case about it.
The only thing I got to do, I is don't make a vow unless you know absolutely sure.
Mm-hmm.
What the king said.
Yep.
Shia said it's better not to vow at all. As he said, if you vow a vow and you slack to pay it, he coming to see you for it. So
yeah, when we first started, he said, what the trees represent. I said, people came to my mind. And I don't really know where it's at, the exact verse, but there was in the New Testament, I think it was like a man or something. I can't remember what happened. I guess he spit in his eyes or something like that.
Yeah, he was blind.
Yeah, and he said, what do you see? He said, I see trees. And he did it again. He said, now what do you see? I said, I see people.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of like, it's like, you know, trees represent people. First he saw the trees, then he said, okay, these people is what I see. I just want to throw that out.
Okay. You what it is?
I know you're talking about.
You try to pull that real quick.
She got to spit his hand. Mark 8. I'm at Mark 9.
When he asked him if he saw,
Yep.
if he saw anything, and he looked up and said, I see men as trees walking. Oh, that's a good one. That's a real good one. Yeah, let's go there.
Mark chapter 8, I'll start at verse 22.
Verse 22, yeah. Mark 8 and 22.
Verse 22. Mark chapter 8. I didn't use it. Mark,
I told you, I read 22.
And he cometh to Bethsaida, and they bring a blind man unto him, and besought him to touch him. And he took the blind man by the hand, and led him out of the town. And when he had spit on his eyes, and put his hands upon him, he asked him if he saw. He asked him if he saw aught, and he looked up and said, I see men as trees walking. And after that, he put his hands again upon his eyes, and he made him look up, and he was restored, and he saw every man clearly.
Every man clearly. Yeah, that's a good one. Mashiach put his hands on his eyes and say he saw men as trees walk. Y'all know what that, he asked him if he saw aught. Y'all know what that means, right? Anything. Let me see. Check to see if there's any questions in the chat.
Where in scripture did it say when Mashiach said he's going to come back to those who make a vow? I just needed to know that.
Say to those that what?
If you make a vow and don't keep it.
Oh, okay.
You can start at verse 30.
You talking about in the law?
Okay, so
wait, ask the question again.
You know, like when you say you make a vow and then you don't keep it, and he said, Travis said that Hamashiach said he was going to come back to visit, or was it?
No. He said he gonna see you for it when he said slack not to pay it. So that's you got Psalms.
Can you kind of elaborate on that? And I know.
Got you. Get the numbers 30 joint. Yep.
I pretty much know what you're saying, but it's like, you know, I just don't know how in-depth it is, so I kind of want to understand it.
So numbers 30.
Numbers 30. Maccabees, get Deuteronomy 23. You can pick it up in verse 1.
Okay, Numbers 30 and verse 1. And Moses spake unto the heads of the tribes concerning the children of Israel, saying, this is the thing which Yahuwah have commanded. If a man vow a vow unto Yahuwah, or swear an oath to bind his soul with a bond.
So they would say, you make this vow to the Most High, you promise this thing to him, you bind your soul to it, basically saying that, Father, I'm coming to you, whatever that vow is, I'm going to do this, right? So you binding your soul to this, because it's your word, right? Yeah.
He shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceeds out of his mouth. If a woman also vow a vow.
So it's the same principle, right? So he said, no matter what, you got to do what you read that last part again.
He shall do according to all that proceeds out of his mouth.
So this is what y'all saying. If you come and you vow this vow, you better make sure you go ahead and do what you said you were going to do, right? Yep.
Deuteronomy 23 and 21. When you shall vow a vow unto Yahuwah, you should not slack the pay.
So he said, if you vow this vow, you better make sure that you're going to pay it, right?
For Yahuwah will surely require a bit of you.
So when I say he going to come see you, that's what he meant. Like, he's coming to, if you don't pay that vow,
right,
he's still coming to collect, right? So because you bound your soul to this, I got to come and get something else because you didn't do what you said.
And it will be seen in you.
He said it would be what now?
Sin.
It will be sin. So that's
you had
translation.
stopped at reading and said, if a woman also vows a vow unto Yahuwah and binds herself by bond, being in her father's house in her youth, and her father hears her vow. So, okay. I understand that part. So basically it's saying if you said a vow, your father's there, he doesn't know and void, the vow still stands unless the father says no.
Right.
Okay.
She don't know she's talking about, she can't do that.
Right. Right. So so what you're saying still stands is like, say I'm having a conversation with you and I make a vow, that still stands.
Absolutely.
Okay, I just
yeah.
Okay.
No doubt.
And we're supposed to be without sins when Hamashiach comes. We're supposed to be blameless, right?
Absolutely. Indeed. Like in Ecclesiastes 5 and 4. The vows is important.
Yes,
that's what I say. Mashiach was saying it's better not to vow. Like it's better not to swear at all.
I'm not knowingly. I mean, now that we know, you keep it because unknowingly we made it and now knew the importance of it. And then now that you know, you keep it because you know the importance of it.
Like he said, he says, at the time of our ignorance, he winked at. He said, he calls all men to repent.
Yes.
So, like, for things that you don't know, he kind of gave you some leniency on it.
Okay, so.
You know what I'm saying? So, if you made a vow not knowing that this is the repercussions in which but that's why the princess was telling him, like, look, man, we made this vow. Ain't no way in the world we can go back on this vow. So Joshua, figure out something else to do with him. We can't kill him though. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because they knew what it was about this vow.
Okay, going back to you said he winked at our ignorance, knowing that like unknowingly you made a vow that you wasn't clear of the importance of it.
Right.
My question is, can you
you
repent from that thing? Does that vow still stand? Or did he wink at the ignorance of not knowing?
If you already broke it, then that means that the vow, you know, it's over. You know what I mean?
I mean, if you make a vow, okay, say for instance, you made a vow, I'm going to do a 30-day fast, you know, and but it wasn't the time you said you were going to do it, you know. Does that vow still stand? Like, are you still supposed to keep it because you still have breath, you still have life, you know, you still keep that vow?
If you made a vow, yeah, absolutely, you're supposed to keep it.
But I'm saying unknowingly.
So you're asking, like, if you didn't know the severity of keeping keeping the vow, then does that mean that now you don't have to keep the vow anymore?
Right. Or does it mean you still?
If she didn't keep it, you get the vision. Like, she moved past.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like he said, repent. He said,
repent, right? Repent.
Yeah, indeed, that's what he said. He said, at your time of your ignorance, you don't even.
I didn't know.
Yeah. But get that though. Read what you got. What's that? What you got?
Ecclesiastes 5:4.
Read that.
When you vow a vow unto Elohim, defer not to pay.
This is the importance of a vow. Like, I think we did a whole lesson on this, right?
Okay.
He says, defer not to pay it because he take it very seriously.
Yes,
it's just like us coming to him in prayer, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to do something. You do this for me. Or I promise you I'm going to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is very important. We don't see nowhere in the book where the Most High went back on his word.
Right.
Right.
He was going to destroy the children of Israel. Right. But because of what he said to Abraham about his seed, he didn't. Right? Because he said that he swore unto himself because it was none higher. Right? Go ahead.
When you vow a vow unto Elohim, defer not to pay it, for he has no pleasure in fools.
He said what?
But he has no pleasure in fools.
So you got to make sure when you're making this vow, because he like, look, it's just like going to somebody say, man, borrow $20 from me, right? I promise you I'm gonna pay you back on the 3rd. Some people not even gonna give you $20. I know you not. You ain't gonna give me that. I'm not even gonna give you, right? But y'all is taking any and all. Okay, you said you're gonna do this. No, I want you to. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Right? Go ahead.
The situation I was.
Hold on, one second.
Sorry.
Let's get that up. Verse 5.
Pay that which you have vowed. Better is it that you should not vow than that you should vow and not pay.
So that's just blanket statement, right?
Go
ahead.
Verse 6. Suffer not your mouth to cause your flesh to sin.
Don't write a check that your butt can't cash, right? Because what?
Neither say you before the Malachim that it was an error. Wherefore should Elohim be angry at your voice and destroy the work of your hands?
So now these people that know, right? You done made this vow. You know, man, when I said, hey, brother, I didn't, you know what I'm saying? But they know. He talking about people who actually know this. You came to me and you vowed this vow, right? And he's saying that Malachim is in the Shamayim. They know, like, oh, don't pull that one, bro. I remember what you said. You knew. You know what I'm saying? So when you said that it was of ignorance, remember, he gave you leniency on that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? But from this moment forward, you know what I'm saying? You gotta make sure that you're doing it right. Like a lot of people say, like the Pharisees used to say, I swear on the temple. Like, they wouldn't swear to the Most High, right? I swear on the temple, and I'm gonna pay this on the first, right? Or I swear on the bricks that's laid out here. And Mashiach, like, don't the temple belong to the Most High? Don't the bricks that's laid out here belong to the Most High? Don't try to get around it by swearing to nothing. All that still go back to the Father. So when you say something out of your mouth, you gotta mean what you say and say what you mean. You know what I'm saying? So that's that. You know how I swear to God, right? When you young, oh, I swear on my dead grandmama grave. Right. None of that. None of that.
None of that. Anybody else? Oh, what you got, bro?
You know, reading the scriptures, we talk a little bit about all Israel shall be saved.
Right.
I don't know if this is something that can't learn.
No, it's not.
We really don't understand what that means, because we know that we study, we know that if you're an Israelite, and if you sin, and if you in your sin, you die, we know what the reward is for that. So, and then you got Israelites who is keeping the law, statutes, commandments, and it's endurance to the end, like pass away. You know, there's reward for that. So, but for the ones that are living, we try to figure out what does it mean. And you have to answer today, maybe next week, the week after, whatever. What exactly does it mean when you say all Israel shall be saved? That's what we mean.
Okay.
You can go to it. Get the Romans 11. Romans 11 and 20. Yep, verse 26. You can start at verse 25. Yep.
So the question, just for everybody that's watching it, may not have heard it, brother. The question was asked, what is meant by all Israel shall be saved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For Romans 11 and verse 26.
25. Sorry,
verse 25. For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceit, that blindness in part is happened to Israel, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. And so all Israel shall be saved.
He said what?
All Israel shall be saved.
They say so. All Israel shall be saved. Right? Read on.
As it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob.
So it says, and so all Israel shall be saved. As it is written, that there shall come out of Zion a deliverer. Right? Now, everybody who claims to be Israel is Israel, right? You got people who cleave onto the house that's called Israel, right? But the statement that all Israel shall be saved, is it a blanket like everybody that's an Israelite is going to be saved no matter what? Because if that's the case, then we got to throw the book away. Because all throughout the scriptures, who he was dealing with, Israel, he don't change, right? So it wasn't all Israel going to be saved before, and it's not going to be all Israel going to be saved at the end. Let's go see. Get Romans the 9th chapter. Yeah. But he gave what it was written, well, you know what I'm saying, with the deliverer coming, right? Romans chapter 9 at verse, let's start at verse 1.
Romans 9 and 1. I say the truth in Hamashiach, I lie not. My conscience also bears me witness in the Ruach HaKodesh, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
For I could wish that myself were accursed from Hamashiach for my brethren,
Mm-hmm.
my kinsmen according to the flesh.
What does he say right here? He said, I wish that myself were accursed from Mashiach, from our brother. What does he say? I wish I could die for my brothers. I wish all of the sins of my brothers would just fall on me, right? That way I can help save them, right? Read. Same thing what Moses tried to do, right? Go ahead.
Verse 4. Who are Israelites?
Who are what?
Who are Israelites?
Talking about Israel, right? Read.
To whom pertains the adoption and the esteem and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of Elohim and the promises.
So this is Israel for real. Like this is who it's talking about, right? Read.
Who are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, Hamashiach came, who is over all, Elohim blessed forever. So be it.
Read.
Not as though the word of Elohim have taken none effect.
Not like the word of the Most High ain't taking none effect. All those things that he mentioned. Read.
For they are not all Israel, which are of Israel.
Everybody that's Israel ain't Israel, right? Read.
Neither, because they are the seed of Abraham, are they all children. But in Isaac shall your seed be called.
So he's saying that even though the Israelites pertain the adoption and this and that, all of these type of things, right? Everybody ain't Israel who Israel. So he gave the analogy of Abraham and his son Isaac, right? He said, neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children. So how many seeds did Abraham have? How many children Abraham had? All of them, right? A lot, right? Who was his firstborn son? Ishmael. But according to the promise, who was called his first son? Isaac, right? He was the child of the promise, right? So now we got Ishmael that was a child of Abraham, but the son was called in Isaac, right? Because of the promise. So now what happens if we don't act accordingly to the promise? You lose out on the benefits, right? Revelations chapter 2. Start at verse 1.
Revelations 2:1. And unto the Malach of the assembly of Ephesus write, these things said he that holds the 7 stars in his right hand, who walks in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks. I know your works and your labor.
He said, I know your what?
Your works and your labor.
I know your works and your labor. Read.
And your patience.
And your patience, talking about who? This congregation, right? Children of Israel, right? Read.
And how you can not bear them which are evil, and you have tried them which say they are apostles.
Now the people who are apostles, wouldn't they be of the children of Israel, right? Read.
Which say they are apostles and are not.
And are what?
And are not.
But they are what?
And have found them liars.
Now they was liars, right? The same people are the same seed, right? Drop down to verse 7.
Verse 7. He that has an ear.
Matter of fact, start at verse 5. I'm sorry.
Verse 5. Remember therefore from where you are fallen, and repent and do the first work.
What was the first works? The keeping the commandments, right? Keeping the law, right? Read. Or else?
The first works, or else I will come unto you quickly and will remove your candlestick out of his place, except you repent.
So he's telling this congregation, y'all better go back to doing the stuff that y'all was doing before, or I'm going to take your candlestick. He only had 7, right? I'm taking your candlestick and I'm going to remove you, right? Verse 7.
Verse 7. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Ruach says unto the congregations.
Now, who is these congregations filled of? Israel, right? Read.
To whom that overcomes will I give to eat of the tree of life.
Now, we was talking about trees before. We talking about Mashiach being the tree of life, but us being in them bearing the fruit. Read.
which is in the midst of the paradise of Elohim, and unto the Malak of the assembly in Smyrna. Right.
Now, again, this is Israelites, right? We ain't deviated from talking about who this actually is. These are Israelites he's talking about, right? Read.
Right. These things says the first and the last, which was dead and is alive.
Verse 9.
I know your works.
Now, he just was talking about I know your works. In verse, what was that? In verse 2, talking about Israelites, right? So it ain't changed. I know your works and what?
I know your works and tribulation and poverty, but you are rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews.
That say they are what?
That say they are Jews.
Who is this talking about? He's talking about Israel. Everybody trying to make it seem like it's talking about the white Jews and all this. No, this is talking about Israel. He said, I know the blasphemy of them which say they are what?
Which say they are Jews.
That say they Israel, but what?
And are not.
And are not, but do what?
But are the synagogue of Satan. Fear none of those things which you shall suffer.
Get over it on 3 and 9. Same thing, right? Revelation chapter 3 and verse 9. What do we say?
Behold, I will make them I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not.
But what?
But do lie.
But do lie, because these are the children of Israel. They walking around like they're the children of Israel. They saying they're the children of Israel, but they not acting accordingly, right? So you don't bear that title. You don't get these benefits of being the children of Israel if you're not acting like it, right? Remember, the children of Israel were split up into northern and southern kingdom, right? When the northern kingdom went off, what did the Most High say about the northern kingdom? You are what? You are not my people, right? So he completely dismissed them, even though y'all ain't my people no more. Absolutely. In Matthew chapter 12, verse 48, get that right quick. Good example, right? So even though they bear the blood of the children of Israel, that don't mean that they are Israel. Remember, when Jacob's name got turned to Israel, was it a physical or a spiritual thing? It was a spiritual thing. Yes, you got the physical person that's Jacob, but what he went through with that Malachim was spiritual, and he changed his name. So he said we're supposed to worship him in spirit and in truth. So those people that ain't upholding what it takes to be Israel, yeah, your blood pumping through you is Israel, but you ain't Israel, right? Matthew 12.
Matthew 12 and verse 48. But he answered.
Hold on. Read verse 46.
Matthew 12 and 46.
Yeah.
While he yet talked to the people, behold, his mother and his brethren stood without, desiring to speak with him.
So this is Mashiach's mama and his brothers. They outside. Hey, we want to talk to Yeshua. Tell them to come holler at us. Read.
But he answered and said unto him that told him, who is my mother and who are my brethren?
He said, what?
Who is my mother and who are my brethren?
That's deep. He know who his mom and his brother is, right? But he asked him, who is my mom and my brother? Read on.
And he stretched forth his hand toward his disciples and said, behold, my mother and my brethren.
He said, this is my mom and my brothers when he talking about his disciples. Read on. Why you say that?
For whosoever shall do the will of my Father, which is in Shamayim, the same is my brother and sister and mother.
People that do the will of my Father is my sister, my mother, and my brother. Right? So this is pretty much what he's talking about. When he say all Israel gonna be saved, it's because they're gonna be marked as Israel. They're gonna be doing what Israel gotta do to be called Israel. Everybody else is gonna fall by the wayside. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just saying all together that all Israel gonna be saved, because the book a lie. If that's the case, if it's just saying all Israel gonna be saved no matter what, that would make the book a lie. You know what I'm saying? That would make that whole thing he went through today about bearing fruit and not bearing fruit, that'll make that a lie too. You know what I'm saying? Because he said that this tree that wasn't bearing fruit, it withered away. Men walked by, picked it up, and threw it in the fire. That's exactly what's going to happen to the children of Israel that don't act accordingly. It ain't got nothing to do with me. You're going to have them throw you in the fire. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much what they're saying. A lot of brothers run with that and say, oh man, see, hey man, you can work on the Shabbat, man. You know, all Israel gonna be saved, bro. You ain't know that? Look at it say right here. But don't never go into what it's actually talking about. He said all Israel ain't Israel. So he's like, don't get it twisted. It's not to say that the book is wrong. That's what Paul was saying. It's not to say that the scriptures is wrong, that Israel don't pertain to adoption, and this, and this, and this. But all Israel, not Israel. You know what I'm saying? So,
and even the shell there is conditional. Same thing with, you know, what's that, John 3:16, right? Whosoever believe shall be saved. But what's the shall? They tell you in Matthew, the 5th chapter, he that endureth to the end, the same shall be saved, right? Anybody else? You got something? Go ahead.
My question is, when you add or take away from the word, I see we use the sower and Elohim. Isn't it adding or taking away from it?
Acts 26.
Add.
Acts 26. Give me Psalm 68 and 11 out. Nemo, if you can pull Exodus chapter 23 and verse 20 from it. Actually, verse 19.
Acts 26.
26. Did I say 26?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Verse.
I got you.
All right, my man.
So, Acts 26 and verse 13. At midday, O king, I saw in the way a light from Shamayim above, brightness of the sun shining round about me, and them which journeyed with me. And when we were all fallen to the earth, I heard a voice speaking unto me and saying in the Hebrew tongue, Saul, Saul, why persecute you me?
So he said he heard him speaking in what tongue?
In the Hebrew tongue.
So this is Mashiach actually talking to Paul in what tongue?
In the Hebrew tongue.
In the Hebrew tongue, right? Read.
Saul, Saul, why persecute you me?
Mm-hmm.
It is hard for you to kick against the pricks. And I said, Who are you, master?
So he said, who are you? Right? So what tongue was he speaking to him in? Hebrew tongue. So when he asked him who he was, what did he respond?
And he said, I am Yeshua.
So what did he respond to him calling himself? Yeshua, because he was speaking to him in Hebrew, right? Now we understand that this is an English translation. That man got a standard. Call me by my name, right? Psalm 68:11.
Psalm 68:11. The Most High gave the word. Great was the company of those that published it.
He said the Most High gave the word, but great was the company of them that established it, right? Read.
Kings of armies did flee a pace.
Wait, that's not it. That's not it. Drop back and get verse 4. So the Most High gave the word. When he gave the word, what language was he giving it in? In Hebrew, right? Verse 4.
Verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
Sing unto the Most High. Sing praises to his name.
Sing praises to his what?
His name.
His name. Is his name Lord? Nope. His name Jesus? Nope. Is his name God? Nope. So he says sing praises what?
To his name.
To his name. Read on.
Extol him that rideth upon the Shamayim.
Extol him that rideth upon the exalt him. By his what?
By his name.
By his name. Right? Read.
Yah.
Yah. So this is why we, you know what I'm saying, put his name in there, right? This is why, it's one of the reasons. A lot of, you got pagan origins behind some of those titles too, you know what I'm saying? But based on us calling them by their name in the scriptures, it's a respect thing. Like, what's your name, bro? Otis, right? So what if I called you Curtis? What's up, Curtis? How you doing, brother? Are you all right, man? Every week I see you. What's up, Curtis? Are you gonna look at me like I'm crazy, like that? No, what you mean, Curtis? Man, I told you my name was Otis like 2 weeks ago, man.
Right.
Right? Like, oh, my bad, man. You know, it just sounds like it. You know what I'm saying?
Otis, Curtis, what's the difference?
You know what I'm saying? You want respect, man. I was named Otis. Call me by my name, brother. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much it. But where are you at? Exodus 23? Read verse 19. I think it's 19 when I want.
First fruits.
That might not be it. Hold on. Let me get that. Okay, that's not what I want. Give me 2 seconds. I gotta look this one up.
Have you guys had the breakdown on the word El, the Elohim? Have you did the breakdown or a lesson on that? Because you know I read the Basora, and the Basora they say it's all, and I don't say Elohim, I say Alua, which means mighty, and we know that on the Hebrew Paleo alphabet it says alphabet, it's an alphabet. So I know that the term. Well, I don't know for sure. I haven't studied myself to prove on that area, but I know from my parents' perspective that the word El was a Yiddish term that, you know, the Yiddish use. So that's why I asked if you guys had did the breakdown on the El. Because, you know, they try to switch it as from Yasharel to Yasharal. You know, we want to know the importance of saying Yasharal or you say Yasharel. So it's just that how it's just.
And even I think with
I mean, it doesn't vex me in any way hearing it, but I just, you know, I know that some use L and some use R, and I've actually been rebuked before for using L.
Really?
So, yeah, I've been rebuked for doing that, and I'm just like, okay, so when I'm into prayer, I just say Alua, Abiuba. I don't, you know, I don't even say Elohim or Elohim, I say Alua. So.
Before he get that, it's not Exodus 23 and 19, it's 23 and 13. Read 13. So this is stuff like going back to that Lord and God and all that different type of stuff, right? So these, when you look, even Jesus and all that, when you look at it, these go back to other pagan terms or other deities' names and all that different type of stuff, right? So let's look at what he said in the law. Exodus 23 and verse 13.
In all things that I have said unto you, be circumspect.
He said, be circumspect. Think about it, right? Right? Read.
And make no mention of the name of other gods.
He said, make no mention of the name of other God. Read.
Neither let it be heard out of thy mouth.
Neither let it be heard out of your mouth. It's steer clear from them. You know what I'm saying? Like when people don't know, you know what I'm saying? We're introducing it to them, we'll say who you call Jesus or who you call Lord or who you call God. And then we kindly, politely go on and start using the name. You know what I'm saying? But it's a respect factor. That's the only reason we do it. You know what I'm saying? So, and when he talking about adding to the word, he's talking about adding to his law or adding to a, like, you know, if he say don't make no graven images, you're adding to it like don't make no plastic images. See, it's plastic. It ain't really graven. You know, he just added to the word. He didn't say that at all. He said graven. You know what I'm saying? Or in Revelation, he said, "Don't add to the book of this prophet. Don't add a word to the book of this prophecy." So you'll have people say, "Oh man, airplanes and missiles is gonna come and shoot down and do this and do that." Like, brother, that has nothing to do with that prophecy. He didn't say that at all. But people adding to it. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much what I'm talking
okay. Grab Genesis 12. Genesis 12.
Bereshit chapter 12 at verse 8. You want hallelujah, you want the ready?
You don't know.
Bereshit chapter 12 and verse 8. It says, and he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west.
Okay, that's good. Go to Genesis 28 and 19.
Genesis chapter 28, verse 19. It says, and he called the name of that place Bethel.
He called the name of what?
That place, Bethel.
Uh-huh.
But the name of that city was called Luz at the first.
He called the name of that place Bethel. You know what Bethel is?
That one? No, I don't know.
You know what bet means? Or bait?
No.
Beit means house.
Okay.
So Bethel or Beit El means house of El.
Okay.
And it's El, and I, you know, I'm used to reading the Hebrew with the vowel points or whatever.
Okay.
But so even with the pronunciation, it's not L, it's Ale.
Like ginger ale.
Like we have to talk about Ale.
Right.
You know, it's not. You know, that's how they denote it with the vowel points. That's how I'm used to reading. It's not.
Okay.
They don't have it denoted as all. But and then again, like what we talked about before, with that it's that Judges. Let's go to Judges.
What does it say in the Hallelujah scripture? Because I know it says L in there. Because the book that I'm reading, like there's no L in it. So in the Besorah it says Badat. You know what I'm saying? So we're not gonna give it correct.
But it doesn't say AL though, right?
I believe so.
So even like what he's bringing out, like this, the pronunciation is not really like it's L, like a lot of people say, but it's a ALE kind of thing, like Ale. Like a lot of people look at that Ale and be like, oh,
okay.
You know what I'm saying? Even though when you see that AL, it's pronounced Ale. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But in here they just make it L as far as EL.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That's
it's EL with it's like hyphenated too. It's like give it a different meaning. I don't know what that is. Simple.
Oh, they got an accent mark over the E.
Yeah. Each one, so
it's probably
EL.
Right. That's what they're trying to say. It's not like
well, that makes sense.
But and this is what I always revert back to in the scripture. So Judges 12 and verse 5.
Judges chapter 12 and verse 5. And the Gileadites took the passages of Jordan before the Ephraimites. And it was so that when those Ephraimites which were escaped said, let me go over, that the men of Gilead said unto him, art you an Ephraimite? If he said, no.
Okay, so he asked them, are you an Ephraimite? He didn't know where he was from, but they was looking for these dudes. He asked him, are you an Ephraimite? And dude said, no. Go ahead, verse 6.
Then said they unto him, say now, Shibboleth. And he said, Shibboleth.
And he said, what?
Shibboleth.
Uh-huh.
For he could not frame to pronounce it right. Then they took him and slew him at the passages of Jordan. And there fell at that time of the Ephraimites 42,000.
So he asked him to pronounce a certain word. As he knew, if he didn't pronounce it right, he knew, okay, well, I know where you're from. By the way that you talk, by the way that you pronounce it. So like we was talking before, and I'm a firm believer in that everybody in the region didn't speak exactly the same. You know what I mean? So even then, I firmly believe that there's some who may have said all and some who said L. You know what I mean? Just because people in Michigan speak different.
Yes, sir.
East and West Side. People in the United States, North and South, East and West, all speak different. We all speak in English, but we have different inflections and tones and different slang, right? You know what I mean? Certain words that mean something, even what they call the quote unquote King's English. You know what I mean? Like if somebody said he was wearing thongs, you thinking he got on some women's underwear. But in England, like thongs is the sandals that go between your toes. You know what I mean? So just depending on where you're from, even though you speak in the same language, it has different, but
So like
that's why I don't make a big fuss about it either way.
Thank you for that.
Tell the dudes in Alabama to say go downstairs. And he's like, go downstairs.
Right.
Pronounce stars.
Right.
Stars. Spell it. STAR.
All right. Everybody else good? Yeah. Okay, we pray out. So, did you have some questions, bro? No. So when we pray out, we end with the Our Father prayer, and we recite it in Hebrew. So I'll recite it, and then everybody repeat after me, but that's what it is. I don't want y'all to be, confused as to what exactly is going on. So that's the Our Father prayer here. Where you gonna go with it? Father, y'all, we come before you, Father, asking that you would just hear the words of your people, Father, that you would look past us, Father, and see your Son, Father, who was slain for the remission of our sins, Father, who took away our transgressions, Father, who washed us, Father, and so that we could be as white as snow, Father, who removed the sin from among us, Father, so we can be right with you, Father, so that you can see us once again, Father. We pray and ask, Father, that you would hear your people, Father. We ask, Father, that you would renew our ruach, Father, renew the works of righteousness, Father, within us, Father, making us a clean heart, Father. Purge us with hyssop, Father. Remove anything that is unlike you, Father. We pray that you would continue to order our steps, Father, that you would continue to be a light unto our path, Father, that you would remove any obstacle of the enemy, Father, that would try to thwart or try to hinder your word from proceeding forth, Father, that you would use us as vessels for your word to flow through, Father, that you allow your ruach, Father, to place a word of strength and power in our mouths, Father, so that we can wake up your people and that we can show them your marvelous light, Father, so we can teach them your ways, Father, so that they can be repentant and turn unto you, Father. All these things, Father, we pray and we give thanks. So be it. So be it. Aminu Shabbat Shemayim. Aminu Shabbat Shemayim. Ikadosh. Ikadosh. Shenka. Shenka. Tabo. Tabo. Makutka. Makutka. Ye'aseh. Ye'aseh. Ratzonka. Ratzonka. Ba'arek. Ba'arek. Ka'asher. Ka'asher. Na'asha. Na'asha. Ba'Shemayim. Ba'Shemayim. Tei lanu. Tei lanu. Hayom. Hayom. Liki. Liki. Hikaru. Hikaru. Utzla. Utzla. Lanu. Lanu. Eight. Eight. Ashmatenu. Ashmatenu. Ka'asher. Ka'asher. Suki. Suki. Lanaknu. La Asher, Asmu, Lanu, Baal, Tabinu, Lede, Masa, Ki, Hasalanu, Mi, Para, Ki, Laka, Hamam Laka, Wahagibora, Wahatifare, Lobe, Lami, Hallelujah. I gotta do something.